Yeah. Yes.
We need a forum.
The quorum. Yeah, I'm gonna take her right now. And I'll let her know that I'm doing it for space. Yeah.
We're good. We got it. We got it for him. But we're good. Yeah, if you want to run real quick, it's time texting her. We have our form, I can.
It's a little difficult for me to hear you, so you'll have to speak up.
No.
We do have a quorum, Rebecca.
Okay, you guys are all gonna have to speak up because I'm having a little trouble hearing you. So we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the May 2025 regular Board of Directors meeting of the Santa Cruz Metropolitan District. We'll begin with our safety briefing from Gregory Strecker, our Safety, Security, and Risk Management Director.
Thank you. Good morning, board. Going over a little safety debrief today. The two main emergency exits out of this room is directly on the north side of the building. The single door, go through that door out to the outside, and our evacuation zone is in the area right next on the driveway, right next to the street. In the event that emergency exit is blocked, the second emergency exit is directly behind me through the main doors. If in the event of evacuation, you do not take that, you do not use the elevator, you use the stairs to go downstairs, and go into the parking lot. And our main evacuation area is right next to the parking lot, again, right next to Vernon Street, right there, where we will meet there. Again, in the event of evacuation, do not use the elevators. And then once we are in the assembly area, we will do a roll call, make sure everyone is out of it. In the event of an earthquake, remember, drop, cover, and hold on under the any sturdy furniture or near any interior wall. So anyone on this side, don't want to be next to the exterior. You want to be closer to the interior, near the door frame. Be good. Stay in the place until the shaking stops, and then evacuate only when it is safe to do so. In the event of a fire alarm, evacuate immediately. Again, do not take the stairs. In the event of evacuate or elevators in the event, do not take the elevators. Take the stairs in the event of evacuation. If there's medical emergency, we have an AED located downstairs, and we have a first aid kit located in the break room, directly through that door right there, and into the hallway. In the event of an active threat, make sure we're following the run, hide, and fight procedures. What that means is run first. If it is safe to do so, get out of the area. If it's unsafe to run, meaning that you're going to be blocked by the active threat, then you need to hide. And remember, in a hiding situation, make sure you silence all your devices in that situation. Because if you're trying to hide, obviously you don't not want that to be heard. If you cannot hide, if the situation is, if you can't run, you can't hide, then you need to fight, and only as a last resort. And just remember, in all these situations, make sure you stay calm, follow the instructions, and prioritize your safety. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Gregory. I'm joining the meeting using the just cause circumstance due to illness.
And actually, you're gonna join under the emergency.
Sorry,
Circumstance,
emergency circumstance.
which requires a majority vote of the board to allow the emergency exemption for Director Downing to attend. So what should happen is Donna will take roll call. She will take roll for Director Downing, then you'll hold the vote to allow Director Downing to attend. Assuming that passes, then Director Downing will be counted as present.
Okay, so roll call.
Director Dutra, Director Terry Johnson,
Present.
Director Koenig,
Here.
Director Leon,
Here.
Director Lynn,
Here.
Director Martinez, Director Newsome, Director Orbach,
Here.
Director Rose Carter, Director Rankin.
Here.
Ex officio Director Northcutt, ex officio Director Riskin.
Here.
And we have quorum.
And now you,
I move that we opt for the emergency procedures necessary for us to have someone attend.
Can you speak loud? Can you speak louder, Mike? It's hard for me to hear you. I'm sorry.
Made a motion to you including in our meeting.
You moved and I seconded. Okay. Director Downing.
I
what, you don't, she doesn't.
I'm sorry.
I don't get to vote.
I'm sorry. Director Dutra is absent. Director Terry Johnson.
Aye.
Director Koenig.
Aye.
Director Leonore.
Aye.
Director Lynn.
Aye.
Director Orbach.
Here, I mean, I.
And Director Rockin
Aye.
is now, can join.
Can join Rebecca.
Okay, so let's continue with our announcements. Community Television of Santa Cruz is broadcasting today's meeting, and it will be available on their YouTube channel next week. Donna, do we have anyone providing Spanish interpretation services today?
No one has arrived yet.
Okay. Then we'll move on to item 5, the Board of Director comments. Are there any comments this morning from our board members? That's a no?
No.
Okay, well, I have one comment, and I just want to commend Metro staff for their work during the Cabrillo College election cycle and hosting booths at the Earth Day celebrations in Santa Cruz and Watsonville. Everyone working at the booths, including marketing staff, bus operators, and customer service staff, were very professional and friendly, and the visitors to the booth felt welcomed and appreciated, so thank you. Moving on to item 6, our next item is set aside for directors and members of the general public to address any item that's not on the agenda, which is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. No action or discussion shall be taken on any item presented, except that any director may respond to statements made or questions asked, or may ask questions for clarification. All matters of an administrative nature will be referred to our staff. Each public comment is limited to 3 minutes or less. Please step to the podium to speak. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Brian Peoples with Trail Now. We're a local organization advocating to build a trail as soon as possible along Santa Cruz Coastal Corridor. Last RTC meeting, there was a representative from Metro who talked about unmet transit needs. And in his discussion, he pointed out that Metro will have a 2026 tax initiative to help fund it because you have a lot of financial issues. Because of Mr. Rotkin and other Metro representatives on the RTC board who have been putting the $1 billion train over Metro and the Trail. Trail Now is going to become a political action committee against your tax measure if Mike Rotkin continues to prevent us building the trail. That is not what we want to do. And we have won every political action committee. When we're a political action committee, basically the public gives us money to oppose your initiative. You will lose if Mike keeps up this, his campaign for a train, $1 billion train. It's not even possible. So he's putting his ideologies over realistic use of the corridor. All of the reports have shown that a train is not viable, not financially viable. It's
$5 billion for a train. Doesn't even meet the coastal requirements. I guess the best way I could explain it is if you were a student in a class and you kept failing the class and the teacher says, well, you keep getting it wrong. And the student says, well, it's my opinion that I'm right. Well, I'm sorry, your opinion's wrong. And that's what's going on right now is Mr. Rotkin has his opinion that we have to keep the railroad tracks, that a train is viable in the future, when everything has shown that it's not. And it's holding back our community. It's held it back for a decade. We've only built 1.9 miles at a cost of $25 million a mile to build it. Think about that. So we're here telling and asking the Metro team, you don't want us as a PAC. We don't want to be a PAC. So let's start getting on board to say, stop with the rhetoric, support opening the coastal corridor today. And let's not have Metro lose their tax initiative. Because I'm guarantee you're going to lose if we're a PAC. Every time we're a PAC, we win. Alex Peterson just resigned because of the pressure we placed on him. That's what we did. We don't want to fight you guys. But Mr. Rotkin keeps with his opinion. He's going to probably tell us his opinion. But all of the facts have shown that a train is not viable. It's never going to happen. Okay. So please, we're asking the Metro team to stop with the rhetoric and help us what's called implement the federal rail banking process and open the corridor and use the property that we purchased. Thank you.
Do we have any other speakers in the room?
If we can just pause for a minute, Vanessa came online and we need to get her promoted. So if you could just
Sure.
give us a minute. Thank you.
I'm here. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you.
Welcome, Vanessa. Do we have any more comments in the room?
Yes.
Did you want to respond to that, Mike, or I just want to check and see if we have any online before?
Sure.
None online.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Just briefly, it's not a question of what my opinion might be on the rail. It's that there's no connection between what's going on in the rail and trail question and the Metro Transit District. I'm committed to not taking any money from the transit district or its potential funding sources and putting them into the train. Trains being basically funded, the study of the possibility of a train, still not decided. And this board has a unanimous decision to proceed with studying the question of whether it should be carried out. We plan to have that done by next fall. Is that basically there's no need to continue. This process basically is not connected to the Metro Transit District. So basically, Trail Now is threatening the Metro districts. It's a way of trying to, get us to sort of somehow cave on this and take a position, or our members of the three of us that represent the Metro to take a position on the rail and trail that has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with funding for Metro. They are welcome to do that. They have an opinion. They can become a PAC or not become a PAC. It should be clear that there's no connection there. And it's not as if we're funding, everybody thinks this $1 billion for the bridges is coming out of some existing fund. It doesn't. Either the state's going to step up at some point and support that approach to building this thing, or they're not. If they don't, we're not going to be building it that way, and we may end up in a banking. Who knows where it's going to go? But the point is, there's simply a connection being made here that's not real. And it doesn't have to do with what my opinion might be on the RTC about whether we should or shouldn't have a train. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to labor organization communications. Do we have comments from our labor organizations? No,
Yes, we do.
I'm sorry. Oh, here we go. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Veronica Velasquez. I'm the union organizer for Metro employees.
Dear board members, NCIU 521 sent an email this week to all board members on behalf of our Metro membership. We understand that today you will be evaluating the CEO, Corey Aldrich, and we ask you to take into consideration the following. Metro's employees' morale is low under his leadership. We have provided details to you via email as to reasons why. In 2024, we asked the CEO to hire an outside consultant to investigate the allegations regarding racial and bullying behavior by Brandon Freeman. When SEIU requested a copy of the report, he refused to provide it, claiming client attorney privilege. SEIU currently has 3 charges against the district, and we have 2 cases where we have filed grievances and 2 civil rights complaints. It seems that the CEO and HR are not well versed in the MOU or personnel policies. Based on the following, Michael Boyce and Brandon Freeman were promoted to management positions without meeting the minimum qualifications. Both managers consistently violate articles in the MOU. HR retitled several management classifications. It's been 7 months and still no new job descriptions have been created for these positions, despite giving these managers raises. No proper job study was conducted, which we addressed to you all when that occurred. The CEO has instructed some board members not to discuss day-to-day issues with employees, which violate the personnel rules. The upward career path has been stripped from union staff. They're opting to create new positions as managers or provisional. HR does not appear to act as an objective party, ensuring that workers are in a safe work environment. The African-American employee who brought the allegations against Mr. Freeman has experienced apparent retaliation, including suspensions and write-ups. Brandon Freeman's racist behavior and bullying have gone without any discipline. We ask that you proceed with caution and conduct interviews with stakeholders who have been impacted by the CEO's leadership.
And just to follow that up, I sent an email last night, just our SEIU Metro employees had conducted a vote of no confidence amongst themselves to see the temperature of general employees there. And the results were 89% of SEIU members have no confidence in the leadership of the CEO, are requesting their removal as the CEO at Metro. 94% of SEIU members have no confidence in the ability of HR, specifically Don Crum, to do their job. And feel that they should be removed. And 89% are concerned with Brandon Freeman's ongoing bullying, harassment behavior towards workers, and feel that he should be promoted from that position for that reason. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Olivia Martinez. I'm the Region 2 Director. So we're not going to go away. The workers continue to tell you there's issues. The bigger concern as to why Donna, Mike, some of you are not listening to the workers. Melinda, you're a woman of color. Shabra, you're a woman of color. Fabian, you're a man of color. And I'm wondering if you've experienced racial discrimination at one point and we're not listened to. This is what's happening inside Metro. And although HR is shaking their head and saying no, there's the truth. People of color, there's a more punitive approach to their discipline to white employees in this agency. For him to say he wants to bomb Metro if he doesn't get a position, for him to go after a woman of color and continues to be promoted as an assistant manager, where is accountability and integrity of Metro? What is going on? You guys have to step up and listen to your workers. We have 100 workers and 89% said we don't believe in his leadership. 90-something% said Dawn is not doing her work. And the other 89% says he continues to bully. We step back and we allow you to do some work here. But he has not led up to this woman of color. We have reached out to the NAWCP and it continues. We will go to the state. We will go to different politicians to help us, but we will not stop. It is our due diligence as a union to bring up these concerns. If there was no issue, we would walk away. But you need to listen to your employees. They are not here, not because they don't want to, but it has been been very clear about the retaliation against them and intimidation. Not because they don't want to, they're afraid. We are their only voice at this point because their voice has been stepped all over. And it is really sad that in Santa Cruz County, there is no voice. He's an outsider that came into our community, and he has more of a voice than people that were raised here and have worked here longer. You need to step up and do right by your workers. It is not okay what they're going through. Thank you.
Morning. I'm Andrea, General Chair for Smart. I want to make it perfectly clear. I am the General Chair. I represent 277 drivers, Metro drivers. These drivers are here. They're under my responsibility. I speak for them, no one else. You all got an email. I got it too. This was yesterday. And I quote, I apologize, I don't need my song. Our CEO is disconnected on a personal level from drivers, supervisors, and community. A lot of you don't know, I lost my wife last year to cancer. That man right there took me under his wing in a respectful manner, told me the steps I was gonna go through, guided me and assisted me as much as he could through the painful situation I was going through.
Not a unionist.
I let you speak, you let me speak. Thank you. Let me speak. I'm not kissing up to the man, but I respect him for what he did. But as far as the community, we've been in meetings. I've asked him to be in our meetings. He is in our meetings, no question about it. When we have issues, when our drivers have issues, he's with us. When we are talking about the rodeo that's coming up, he listens. When we're talking about the picnic that we want to bring back, he's listening. We had issues with whatever it was, the man was listening. I'm not kissing up to anybody, but I have no problem with the management I'm working with right now. And it's for the best interest of my drivers. Just wanted you to know that. Again, I have the sole responsibility of 277 drivers. That's 71.1%, 0.2% of our fleet here, of our business. Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have any other comments on labor?
No.
Corey or Donna, Dawn, are you, interested in responding at this time?
You want to be ashamed of yourself. You weren't even there when she died. Actually, I can't be.
Good morning, board. Dawn Cremay, head of HR. Sorry, nervous. I want to briefly address the recent concerns raised by SEIU regarding my role and conduct as Chief HR Officer. The nature of my position is inherently challenging. As head of HR, I am often the first point of contact for both employees and union representatives when issues arise between staff and management. These concerns are not always easy to navigate, and it's not possible to satisfy every party involved. My priority is always to ensure a fair, respectful, and equitable workplace for all Metro employees. There are times when union representatives take strong positions in meetings, and in those moments, I have to respond with firmness while remaining professional. I understand how this dynamic may be perceived, but I approach every situation with the goal of maintaining a balanced and constructive work environment. I've been with Metro now for 7 years, beginning as assistant manager, promoted to director of HR, and now CHRO. In 2022, I also served as interim CEO for 4 months during the recruitment of a new CEO. And I was chosen by this board in large part for my established relationships with union partners. I value those relationships and I do value the work that we do together. I care deeply about this agency our mission, and our employees. I want nothing more than to foster a positive and productive workplace for everyone at Metro. Thank you for listening.
I'll just address briefly. I've been at the agency for over a year. I have loved my time here. It has been fantastic. And, I'm surprised to hear this from SEIU. As I have walked around and visited with their membership, I haven't got that sense that they're dissatisfied with what's going on. So it is a surprise to me. Now, I know there are a few that are upset because of various reasons, and I try to work on those. I'm open, transparent. My door is always open to them. Open communication as much as we possibly can. I just want to reiterate to the board that I am fully committed to helping Metro move forward, helping Metro be a world-class organization. And I'm going to make some decisions at times that are going to, maybe people are not going to disagree with, but just know that every decision that I make and every choice I make is in what I think the best interest of this organization. And that's why you hired me, to help me lead this organization. And I will continue to do that to the best of my ability.
Chair, I have a question.
Yes,
This is a question for Liam. What percentage of SEIU members did the survey? What was the end?
I don't have that I could go to.
Thank you.
okay, thank you, Dawn and Corey. We'll move on to our consent agenda. Where all items are recommended actions that are considered to be routine and will be acted upon as one motion. Do we have comments from the board regarding this or any requests to pull an item for discussion? So we now ask for public comments. Do we have any public comments on the consent agenda?
There are none,
And none online?
none online.
Okay, so a motion's required to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll go ahead and motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Let's do a roll call, please.
Director Downey,
Aye.
Director Colin Terry Johnson.
Aye.
Director Koenig,
Aye.
Director Leonore,
Aye.
Director Lynn,
Aye.
Director Orbach,
Aye.
Director Key Rose Carter,
Aye.
and Director Rockin.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
Thank you. We'll move on to our regular agenda with the presentation of our employee longevity awards. And we are first celebrating Julio Perez, 10 years as a bus operator. Erlen Osario, a transit supervisor for 20 years. And Mario Torres Serrano, a bus operator for also 20 years. Are any of them here today?
We have, yes, we do.
Are any of them here? Oh, great.
Hi, my name is Erlen Osorio, and I'm one of the ones that accomplished, I guess, 20 years. There's so many people I would like to thank. I guess the first person would be Elmer Torres. He's the one that told me about this job in 2005. So, I've been here. I started as a paratransit operator, and Daniel was my trainer. And then I moved to driving the bus, and recently, now I'm a supervisor, almost finishing up with probation. I'm very thankful for everybody that has helped me this far. I love being here, and hopefully 15 or 20 more years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Manu.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mario Torres. I'll be here for 20 years and get benefits to have. I just want to call, I wasn't gonna say nothing really, but, but SEIU's comments, actually, I have to agree with them a lot. I think things have changed and not always for the good. And different representations of how unions work, different ways that people see views. But I've dealt with HR and I've dealt with supervisors and there is retaliation and there is favoritism and there is all that. Besides that, you guys can figure all that out, but I have to agree with what the representatives from SEIU has said. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We thank you for your years of service and ask if there are any public comments on this item.
There are none.
We'll continue our regular agenda item to approve a resolution setting a public hearing on June 27th, 2025 pursuant to Assembly Bill AB 2561, a new law this year requiring a public hearing prior to the budget being approved in June to present the status of job vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts at Santa Cruz Metro. So to address this item, we have Don Cremay, Chief Human Resources Officer. Thank you.
Good morning again. So as Rebecca announced, it is a new Assembly Bill AB 2561. And what this was introduced to do is address staffing levels in the public agencies, and to monitor vacancy rates, and provide reliable and efficient services to the public. I am happy to report that we do not meet that 20% of vacancies. So that is good. It's something that we continue to monitor. So we are asking that you approve the resolution to open the public hearing for June 27th. And at that hearing, I'll put together a small presentation on vacancies and the recruitment efforts for those vacancies. So, thank you. Are there any questions? Sorry.
So no comments or questions from the board? Are there any questions or comments from the public?
There are none.
Okay, and none online?
None online.
Okay, so a motion is required to approve this resolution.
I move approval.
We should set up the meeting.
If two of us moving, the resolution.
I'll do it in seconds.
Did we get the second as well? I can't hear or see you.
Mike's let me be the motion maker and he the second, he says.
Great.
Yep.
So let's go for the roll call.
Director Downing,
Aye.
Director Dutra,
Aye.
Director Colin Johnson. Aye. Director Koenig,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
Director Lynn. Aye. Director Orbach.
Aye.
Director Key Rose Carter
Aye.
and Director Rock.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
Okay, moving on to item 12, the Board of Directors adopt a resolution setting a public hearing on June 27th, 2025 to commence at 9 a.m. or as soon as possible thereafter so that the matter can be heard for the final adoption of the final fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 27 operating budget and the fiscal year 26 capital budget presented today by Chuck Farmer, our Chief Financial Officer.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna go over the budget more of a higher level and specifically focused on what has changed since what we presented in the month of March till now. So we're not gonna go in depth, but please stop me if you have any other questions that you want to go in and dig into in any areas. What you see on the board right now is FY 26 budget as what we're gonna present. That's in the box right there. I'll focus in on all the different changes and adjustments that we kind of went through. Biggest number on this page is look at the bottom. It's $7.6 million negative. That's the number that we're going to bridge all the different changes going forward. So this, I'm not going to go through because this was actually presented. These are all the changes we made from the 25 to the 26 budget in March. So we started at about $2.9 million positive and ultimately ended up at $8 million negative. And these are everything from revenue adjustments that we know because sales tax is gonna be lower, as well as getting pay rate increases, COLA increases, and expenses going up and so on. Since then, we've gone from the $8 million down to 7.6. And the changes we made first, about $961,000. This is actually good. We've increased. Our Highway 17 and passenger ridership is up, so our revenue is up about $300,000. We are shifting $535,000 of LC top funding into our revenue to cover the free fares for the kids. And then lastly, we had Santa Cruz City. We have increased ridership, and that's per contract, so it's about 125,000. So we actually have some good news there is the revenue is up by 961. On the cost side, we have now updated our changes on our FTE and fringe. That's actually a savings of $1.8 million. So to give you an idea, we know that with the delay in the hydrogen buses and the tank and being able to really kind of put it in full service, we don't need 250 bus drivers now. We just need 280. So we're going to maintain 230, and then we're going to gear back up once we roll out in 27. So that's really the savings we see on that. Then there's some little puts and takes where we've updated security costs, some preventive maintenance contracts for buses. So this is like to outsource our PMs or some of the buses because we only have a certain level of throughput in our mechanical facility. Then our property liability, we always get those late, so that's been updated. So our new costs have gone up 258. And then we've kind of finally built out our fuel model. That gets us to about a $755,000 savings. Two parts of that. One, hydrogen is up, but we're not fully rolling out on hydrogen fuel costs in 26 until that tank is up and running. So that's not going to be until like May or June of next year when that tank's going. But we're still using it. We're using a proxy in the month of March, assuming last year it was going to keep rolling forward, that the costs are going to be much higher. And actually costs in fuel has actually kind of come down, which is actually good news. And then lastly, at the very bottom on our non-operating changes, this is where we move the LC top up. So you'll see the 535 is offset. The TIRSA grant has been reduced by the drawdowns. So the money doesn't go away. It's $2 million. We still have the money. It's just we can't pull the money out and subsidize because we actually submit bus driver salaries as well as fuel costs to get reimbursed. So if we pay a driver and we pay the fuel, then we get to go get the money. So in this case, we're down 20 heads because we're reducing our bus drivers. So we can't get reimbursed for nobody there. So effectively, our TIRSA grant, we can't draw it down. So, but the pot's still there. It's just gonna take longer to draw it. And then some other little knickknacks. So ultimately, all the changes in total is about $500,000. So we're saving about $500,000 since what we presented in March. And then just visibly, okay. So visibly, to kind of take a look at it from an operating standpoint, so this is like midway down the P&L. We started FY25 budget at about 60.1 million. We've added our fares have gone up slightly, about $1 million. Then it's offset by our fully loaded wages of 2.8. That's primarily 2 million and 2.8. It's just our benefit increases. They're up over 12% year over year. And these costs of healthcare is just going up, skyrocket. So that's a big piece. The other 800 is the net increase in salaries. And then revenue vehicle parts and repair. This is a one-time hit of 1.3. This is a cost really to staff up or actually fulfill our inventory for all hydrogen buses. So we have to buy all these parts for the hydrogen buses because we don't have them. We're going to put them in the way the agency works accounting wise. Usually some companies put it in inventory and then when they pull the part, that's when they expense it. We expense it as we receive it. So we're actually buying the parts and expensing it at the time, over $1 million worth of hydrogen parts. And that's all going in inventory. So next year, we're just expensing as we go. We don't have to build up that inventory. Property and insurance, like I said, we got the update, so that's about 800,000. The line of credit, this is a discussion we had in the prior board meeting, is the fact that we want to have a line of credit so we can bridge the funding on the hydrogen buses, because we don't get the VW grant until we actually destroy or take a bus out of service and destroy it next year. So effectively, that's about 1.1 estimate. We don't know. If we draw it, then it could be 1.1. If we don't really draw on it, then it may be nothing. But we're taking the worst case scenarios with 1.1. And a little bit left, and that gets us to 65.4. And then on the non-operating, which is down below, we had $63 million in the budget, dropping to 57.7. Our sales tax in Measure D, we are taking very conservative 4% year-over-year decrease in our sales taxes. I know that the city is going up about 0.5%, but right now, as you can see with the tariffs and people pulling back, plus we're seeing trending that it's going down. We feel like this is a better conservative approach that year over year, we're going to come down. We're scaling back. So the 4% year over year is budget to budget. In 25, we're actually below our budget already by $700,000 or $800,000 year to date. So effectively, we're really dropping about 2 million off the run rate, or about 2% off the run rate. I think that's good. It's conservative and so forth. Our federal and state grants, 2.7 million. That's lower. Primarily, that has to do with timing as to when we get this. Again, it goes back to what I showed in the TERSA grant, but we also have it on 5307. We can only draw down exactly what we use on bus drivers and fueling to go get reimbursed. So don't think that goes away. I still have the money. It's just a timing issue. And then pension and bond, that's about 700. That's part of that is money associated with underperformance by CalPERS on our pension fund. Investments haven't been coming in at 6.8. If it comes in at 6.2, we have to make up the difference. So that's what you're seeing. And then retiree obligations. As more people retire, that's expected to go up. And people are living longer, retiring younger. That number plus, like I said, retiree obligations is like health insurance. So health insurance going up 12%, that's going to go up too. That gets us there. Funding wise, source, the bulk of our funding right now is sales tax Measure D, 39% that comes in. So if we can turn that sales tax around even flat, that will really help us out a lot. Right now, like I said, we're conservative budget to budget, 4% down. We have 11.6 TERSA funding. So that's one-time funding. So that covers us for Metro Reimagined. And so at some point that's going to disappear. Our passenger fares, which make up about 12.6% of our funding. On the headcount, I'm not going to particularly go over each of these line items, but at the very bottom it says year-over-year increase. From 23 to 24, we increased 112 heads. That's all focused on Metro Reimagined. So that was the gearing up all the bus drivers and so forth. Since then, we've learned that, like I said, we're not going to be rolling it out, so we had to scale back the bus drivers. So net in 25, we're down 8. And then it comes back in 27, as you can see, the 20, that's where we're adding back the bus drivers. And really, here's the changes. As you can see, we go from 443 to 435. That's 8 down. 20 of that is the bus drivers coming away. And then what we had to do, and we didn't do the first time around, is we needed to really focus on kind of the support of those bus drivers. So that'd be like mechanics, transit soups. So we had to add those in. So that's really making up the difference. That's why it's not full 20 down, it's coming back. And we had to add in 4 transit supervisors, 3 mechanics, a dispatch scheduler, a lead mechanic, and a fleet maintenance supervisor. So they should have been in the original focus, so now they're back in.
Is that Metro, is that one-time money that these are being paid out of these actual individuals? This is
So
Metro
anything that's
Reimagined.
associated with, Metro Reimagined, the focus would be one-time money, but we can't reimburse these people funding wise using one-time money.
So what would have happened? Who would have started paying for those positions after Metro Reimagined went away?
I think that's a bigger discussion. Metro Reimagined goes away. You don't need all these mechanics, supervisors, but you can't run fleet at that point.
So you'd have laid them off. We'd have to lay them off.
Potentially. And then FY 27 operating budgets. The operating budget here, there really wasn't much change other than moving the head count from 230 bus drivers to 250. I'm not gonna go through all the line items on here. If you have any questions on 27, you can let me know. But pretty much the premise is everything stays kind of the same, 26 and 27, other than, like I said, more head count for the bus drivers. And then the operating risks for 26. This is, passenger fares, paratransit fares. It's only 12 point something percent. So, a few people here or there is not gonna make a difference, but if we have a dramatic difference in, people not riding the bus or a whole slew of people coming in, it could make changes. Special transit fares, changes in contracts. Rio looks like it's in great shape. We're finalizing UCSC. So it sounds like a lot of our contracts are gonna be good. Again, this is 27. We don't know. Sales tax, TDA, LTF. So again, sales tax seems to be a hot topic. And even the state focus right now or forecast is actually down. So it's not like we're receiving money there. So that's even another kind of negative against us. Then we have the FTA 5307 stick. We don't know what's going to happen in the federal government at this point. But like I said, that's another issue. And then one of the things, RTC and delegation, this is like the SGR and STA. So right now, what we used to get obligated is actually being held back by the RTC. There's two parts. One is the numbers are down, and the second part is RTC is holding back money. We are not forecasting in our budget that we will get that money back. We will, some of it. We just don't know right now. But if we do, that's great. That's an upside. But at this point right now, we're not forecasting that piece in it. And economic downturn from if we have recession. One thing we didn't put in here was like the tariffs, what's happening in the government and what's going to happen to us. Natural disasters. On the expense side, bus engine, mechanical failures, fuel cost volatility, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to go through each one, but you get the idea that there's a lot of external factors that could play in that we have no impact on, but we are impacted by what happens. On the capital side, our total portfolio is $123.3 million. To give you an idea, that 123 includes projects we have today, we're spending today in 25, but it also includes what we're going to spend on that project in 26 and possibly in the 27. Some are siloed within the year, but it's about the whole project cost. So it's 123.3, of which we're going to spend about $51 million in FY 26. That number may change slightly because we are right now delivering hydrogen buses and they're pretty material and cost. So it's basically was a $1.2 million that we're spending for every bus that comes in. We've been accepting about 2 a week. And if we continue down that same path, I think some of that spending will actually cross into July from June. So the number will actually go up in 26 and come down in 25, but it's still the same. So to kind of get more into details on this, as you can see, the big line, if you look at construction projects, 8.1 million, 25 is what we're spending. Another almost 19 million in 26 and another 18 million in 27. Our total portfolio of projects is 45, but we're going to spend 19 million in FY 26 on those projects. The biggest piece right there is the fueling station. This is the permanent fueler of almost $12 million. Right now, we have the temporary fueler, which I think everybody has seen and drove by. If you look over there, you can see it's almost done. So some of that cost, the 1.8, may actually get pulled back into this year. It all depends on timing and permits and so forth of that nature. So that's still TBD. On the IT projects, we're finalized. I think we're almost done with the Workday ERP, so we came in drastically under budget. So that may just go away too. We're finalizing kind of the last little pieces. This is always hard, especially timing being that capital projects roll continually regardless of fiscal year. So it's going to bridge budget timelines. So that's why we're showing you the whole portfolio. So you can see that's really the number we're working. And then down at the bottom, the other big numbers to look at is the 44 hydrogen buses. We're expecting to spend 42.8 million this year and about 9.5 next year. I think the 42 is going to come down and the 9 is going to go up, but it's still the same number of 52.3 million. And then the 60-foot hydrogen, this is definitely a next year. That gets us. Okay, here we go. So bottom line, $54 million spent this year. 50.9 million is going to spend next year, another 18, and that gets us to the 123.3 million. And then how is that all being paid? So right now, almost 40% is getting paid by Turson. That's a pretty good amount of money. I mean, because they're spread across not only our buses, but also our fuelers and workplace development and so forth, so that we get this going. Another piece is, FTA grants of 20.7. I think we're pretty good on that piece. Our VW grant, almost 12%. That is the grant where we're going to receive the money after we take buses out of service, destroy them, and then we'll get the cash. That's the reason why we have the line of credit that we need. But the bigger item I want to focus on right now is really the operating capital reserve. This is 21.3%. This is money that we set aside for bus replacement fund, $3 million. We've built it up, and we're also doing a lot of the matching with that to buy our buses, which is actually good, but we're also spending money elsewhere. So that's our money that we're spending, and we're hoping that it doesn't go up from there, that we don't get grants taken away or so forth and that nature, because I really keep my eye on the ball, make sure that wherever we have the funding is locked in. It's not going to change. And if anything, I know with Derek's help, it's just a little weird. I know he's been looking for money to bring that $21.3 million down. So it's our money goes back in our pockets, and we have grants to cover everything. And I know he's spinning wheels trying to get whatever we need. And just some additional information. This is, typical. We send this out each year. These are board authorized public support activities. We've kind of listed it here. I can go through these, continued here. And like I said, even though we're listing it here, doesn't mean that this is it and this is only this. This is just one stab at it. And as things go up through the year, you'll get a whole bunch of news about, hey, we got another activity. I think Danielle sends out stuff almost monthly. Oh, we got this activity that just came up that we're doing. But this is just a start. Employee appreciation events. So these are the holiday parties, Rodeo, which is coming up, transit worker events. And then we list out all our membership dues, starting with ATTA, which is the big one. CTA, CalAct, I think most of you all have heard of these. And it goes on and on, 2 full pages. So we're really out there. And then the board travel. So we've shown this. These are the different APTA conferences as well as the CTA conferences. And it also talks about having a board member possibly joining Corey to one of these events. And then employee incentives. new hire kits, employee appreciation events, awards for drivers and so forth, as well as for bus rodeo. And then that's it. I know I kind of took it at a high level, but if anybody has any detailed questions?
A few questions. Sure. So when you were talking about the capital programs, the capital projects, a lot of those are out of grant money though, right? So that, a lot of that money can't be spent on anything else. So I think we have to really remember that, like, it's not like we can put that money into the general fund and pay for, people's health insurance. It's
Yeah, you
specific-
can't take,
it's specific for those projects.
yeah, you can't take something that's sitting there that's, a grant for this, that's specific for this and say, I'm gonna cancel that project and move the money back up.
And I understand how it works. I just want to be clear for the public and for other people, because sometimes when you're saying this, it sounds like, oh, we're using it. It may seem to the public, we're using funding to, do all these projects when in fact it's grant money that's specific for those projects. And we can't use that money for bus drivers or for employees or for other costs. So I just wanted to be very clear that, even if we're hitting, a low point, that money has to be used for capital projects it's specific for that.
Yeah.
So, and then, I brought up the one-time I managed already. I see that the ridership for 17 has increased. It sounds like it brought in $300,000. To me, that's you kind of see where it works, right? Where the system is working. What's the runtime on 17 that we go? Is it every 15, 30?
I think it's every 15, I have an employee might have better interest in 30.
No, it's every 30.
It's every 30.
I mean, I think that like we should be taking advantage of where we see we can be gaining, funds. And that seemed to be, $300,000 last year seemed to be an area where we were in the positive. Because people are gonna be wanting raises this year. We're gonna have to start thinking how we're gonna be able to make some money. And that seemed like, if we were able to make some money there. And I don't know, have we been thinking about that or like the future of?
There's a lot going on about the future of where we're going and how to get there and the best path and alternatives.
Yeah.
Future funding and how to pay for things. Yes.
I just think that we should see our successful routes and make sure that we're taking full advantage of them because, we're gonna be looking like the bad guys, if we're not able to provide what people are asking for financially. And then, I think that's it for right now. Thank you.
Thanks.
Do we have any other board questions or comment?
Yep. I have some questions. Thanks again for the presentation information. It's clear and helpful. Just that one maybe smaller point, the reduction of bus drivers from 250 to 230. I thought I'd understood from previous meetings that this service was going to start ramping up in the fall as new buses came online and the temporary facility came online. How are we going to increase service if we're reducing bus drivers by 20?
Well, that's the number that we'll need with the increased service on them. So the increased service is the max we're gonna be able to do. We won't be able to do the full reimagine because of maintenance constraints. So we don't have enough maintenance bays to be able to service that many miles. So we're gonna put as much as we can.
And we're assuming in 27, we're going to hire back up to 250. Are we going to have more maintenance bays at that time?
That's what we're working on for South Canaan.
And then I guess in the big picture, $7.6 million shortfall next year, 15.3 million. Those are pretty big numbers. $60-70 million budget. You talked about on the capital side, how we're using reserves to balance the capital budget. When this came to us a couple months ago, there was the discussion about reserves, but it's not clear, like, how are we managing a $7 and then $15 million loss in the next 2 years? If you're drawing
So-
down reserves?
No, well, no, because we have a COVID recovery bucket that we use if we need to use it. At this point right now with the 7.6, as you noticed, the TURSA grant, that's really just timing. So we don't lose that money. We have 5307 money too as well. We actually have 24 and 25 still to draw in. So we still have that funding as well. They're kind of going. And then on the capital side, the operating capital reserve is primarily the bulk of that is reserve bucket that we put 3 million aside every year.
Yeah, no, that one makes sense, I guess.
But there are some things that we need to do in order to manage. And yes, there is a drawdown. And that's primarily why we have this focus of next December. You know, the logistics of this agency is the fact that we run buses. And when we run buses and you only receive 12% of your revenue to run a bus that comes in, you know, ultimately that's a lot of cost. And you got to cover the cost. And we could cover it by sales tax, we can cover it by state taxes or state funding some way, shape or form. But ultimately we have a lot of costs and those costs go up, whether it's inflation or COLAs or whatever. So we need to really take a hard look at it. The biggest swing areas is revenue, if sales tax revenue starts to go up and I'm forecasting down, that's a boon for us because just that amount of movement, just to go from 4% to 0 is enough to change that 7.6 down to almost 0. So it's that much of a swing that sales tax has that can make this plus or minus. And same with state grants, you know, they make it not as much, but that will actually make fluctuate. So showing you very, very conservative rough case for 26 and 27, then we feel like our opportunity here is to actually come in better than what our numbers are, than worse than our numbers. Because we can manage to these and we are making and having discussions around what does the future look like pre and post sales tax initiative, as well as how we can cover our costs here. And yes, we do hit our reserves that we have to cover any gaps that we have at the very bottom. Yes, there are gaps. And you will see the gaps in June. And we'll talk about the reserve buckets in too.
So when the board votes on the final budget, it will show how it gets the balance between the operating
and where the money's
deficit and all reserve. I think that'll be important, and I think it's going to be conservative, but board would have to see, I assume, a balanced budget. And if it's being balanced by reserves, and in terms of a ballot measure, the timing of that, if it were to get on the ballot 26 and pass in 26, the revenues would be starting to be collected, I assume, in 2027. So they wouldn't, would they impact the fiscal 27 budget?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the way we're kind of looking at it, because we'll show you the 5-year plan as part of it. And that will show you the sales tax. And if it does come in, you'll start to see probably a quarter of our fiscal year. So think of it as the second quarter of the calendar year, which is our fiscal 27. You'll see an impact then and then carry it.
Okay. And I guess just the last comment I would make, when you went through at the end, public support activities and appreciation activities, dues and memberships, travel. These are the kinds of things, and there's some hiring of administrative positions that with a fairly unbalanced budget, I don't know, I guess other organizations that I've been a part of, including the current one, these are the things that we start tightening up on and slowing down, getting rid of. And if you add this all up, it's, I don't know, they're not all costed. It looks like it could be $500,000 If you have an operating shortfall of $7 to $15 million, it might be prudent to rethink these kind of business as usual activities, given a pretty sizable. Thank you.
Just a comment about what Director Dutro raised. I mean, of course, the challenge of, and I agree, it's great to see additional funds coming from the Highway 17 bus, but the challenge is if we're only making 12.5%, and maybe it's different by route, but as far as fare box recovery, it's not like we can add buses and make more money, right? We could add service and lose money still, even if it's a popular route that are performing better than others, just because of our business model.
Do you have any more comments or questions from the board? Do we have any questions or comments from the public?
No,
And none online?
and online.
Okay, so a motion is required to approve this resolution.
Move approval. Second.
We'll do the roll call.
Director Downing,
Aye.
Director Dutra,
Aye.
Director Collins Berry Johnson. Aye. Director Koenig,
Aye.
Director Leonore,
Aye.
Director Lynn,
Aye.
Director Orbach,
Aye.
Director Key Rose Carter,
Aye.
and Director Rocken.
And it passes. So we'll move on to our CEO oral report from Corey.
Well, Metro's marketing department has received more awards, 2 Hermes International Awards, Platinum Award for the Youth Cruise Free Digital Marketing Campaign, and for our social media efforts, and a Gold Award for the Next Stop video series that highlights popular destinations Metro serves throughout the county. Metro was also awarded 2 honorable mention awards, one for our One Ride at a Time video and another for the How to Ride video. Summer service begins on June 19th and ends on September 19th. The service changes include headway running time and route adjustments as follows. To better balance passenger loads and create more evenly spaced headways, routes 1 and 2 will operate every 10 minutes between Watsonville and Santa Cruz. Route 1 along the Soquel corridor will operate every 20 minutes instead of every 15. And Route 2 along the Capitola corridor will operate every 20 minutes instead of every 30 minutes, creating combined departures of every 10 minutes between Watsonville and Santa Cruz. An additional afternoon trip will be added on the weekend to both routes 40 and 41 schedules, serving Davenport and Bonnie Doon. Due to the construction on the Murray Street Bridge, Route 3A will operate in both directions using the current detour route on 7th Avenue. This will mean no service on Seabright south of Broadway. Due to the ramp closure on Highway 1 at Park Avenue, Route 73 will operate through Capitola on Bay and Park Avenues. New stops will be activated. This will mean more service through Capitola for the duration of the detour. Select routes, trips on routes 18 and 19 will not operate through the main gate on the UCSC campus. This is to account for less summer demand on campus while maintaining frequent service on the Mission and Bay Street corridors, where service will continue to operate every 15 minutes. Additionally, starting with the summer headways, Metro will include an employee spotlight article focusing on staff from various departments to highlight the amazing people we have at the agency and the important work they do for our community. It used to be the CEO. I don't think people want to hear from the CEO anymore. And so we're going to highlight our employees instead. The construction of the mobile fueling station is nearly complete. Fuel delivery is planned for the first week of June, with commissioning to follow shortly thereafter. Training with supervisors and dispatchers on the temporary fueler emergency action plan has begun and should be complete within the next week. Additional training for fleet, VSWs, and first responders will then be scheduled to begin after Memorial Day. Ex officio Director Northcutt presented the results of the Cabrillo College transportation fee vote, which has been shared with the board. The student body overwhelmingly supported continuing the fee with 85% voting in favor. As a result, the contract will be extended for an additional 3 years plus 1 carryover year. Sincerely appreciate Alta for the opportunity to collaborate on this initiative and extend my gratitude to all staff who contributed to make this possible. There's a bunch of upcoming events. May 16th, Metro and Cruz will be tabling at the Senior Resource Fair held at the Watsonville City Plaza. May 21st is the Touch a Truck event held at Depot Hill from noon to 2. This event will showcase public works vehicles as a way to engage youth interest. May 31st, Metro will be participating in Santa Cruz Veg Fest, hosted at the fairgrounds in Watsonville from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. The event focuses on environmentally sustainable lifestyles and includes plant-based foods, cruelty-free gifts, and environmental advocacy speakers. Smart and Metro will be hosting a senior celebration dinner at the end of June. Transportation to the Freedom VFW Hall will be provided from Metro Transit Centers. Each of you has received a copy of the Vibes magazine spring issue, which features an infographic highlighting key statistics on Reimagine Metro. These insights, based on the report John presented earlier this year, showcase the growth in both the service and ridership. This marks the first of many promotional efforts aimed at demonstrating the benefits of Reimagine Metro. Future campaign assets will include bus shelter advertisements, posters, and social media posts. Lastly, last week I had the opportunity to meet with the Federal Transit Administration Regional Administrator to discuss Metro's plans to purchase property in Watsonville and our intent to build a satellite maintenance and operations base down there as well. Meeting went well and seemed to be fully in support of it. That's the end of my report.
Sorry.
Do we have any questions from the board?
Chevron.
Mhm.
Okay. Did you mention the ribbon cutting on May 21st and I just missed it? The rail trail ribbon cutting on,
I did not have.
okay. Well, if I may, Chair, I'll just announce it real quick. I should have done it earlier. May 21st, Bain, California, ribbon cutting for that section of the rail trail at from 8:30 to 9:30.
Do we have any, are there any other comments from the board?
There are none.
Do we have any questions or comments from the public?
There are none.
And none online?
None online.
Okay. So we will now recess to closed session, and I believe we ask, are there any questions or comments from the public before we adjourn to closed session? Is that correct?
Correct.
And do we have any public comment?
There are none. And none
Okay.
on.
Okay, so we'll adjourn to closed session.
It has decided that Corey's performance meets the standards of his contract, which requires a 4% annual salary increase, which would bring Corey's monthly salary to $26,867. And he also is entitled under his contract to an $18,800 retention bonus. And with that, I will hand off to the chair to consider the resolution before you and the First Amendment. The resolution adopts the salary change. It adopts the corresponding First Amendment, and it approves the new salary schedule. All of these documents will be effective April 29, 2025, which is the 1-year anniversary date of the CEO's contract. And with that, I'll hand off to the board for its discussion.
And Julie, do we just go directly to motion on this after our closed session?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the resolution as was just presented by.
Second.
We'll take a roll call vote.
Director Downing,
Aye.
Director Dutra's left, Director Terry Johnson,
Aye.
Director Koenig,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
Director Lynn,
Aye.
Director Orbach. Aye. Director Key Rose Carter
No.
and Director Rockin.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
Thank you. Our next board meeting will be held on Friday, June 27th, 2025 at 9 a.m. at the Capitola Council Chambers at 420 Capitola Avenue, Capitola. So thank you all for attending, and we are now adjourned.
Feeling better.